Okay, here is a little bit of animation sequence that I produced for a professor at my last job. This was a computer science professor who needed a way of explaining the difference between raster and vector images. All monitors that we're using are raster monitors, and this bit of animation here is going to show the difference between a raster and a vector based image on a raster monitor. So what you're seeing is a very generalized way of showing pixels on a monitor. Obviously this is a very low resolution monitor where you can actually count the amount of pixels width and height. But I think in a general way it does show the two different ways that an image is defined by either a raster-based software program such as Photoshop or Painter, or a vector-based software program like Illustrator. And let me go ahead and start this animation, and what you're going to see first is the way that a raster-based image would be recorded in terms of file memory. And as you already know, having worked with the Photoshop files, they can get to be quite large. One of the reasons why they end up being so large is every pixel on a monitor has to be accounted for in terms of information in that file size itself. So when you're creating, in this case, a very simplified image, only using two different colors, but each pixel must be accounted for in terms of getting that information into the file so that when we close this file, open it again in Photoshop, we would be able to see exactly the way that we left our file and the way that the image works. In addition, when this image is completed and we're finished with the picture of the house created in a raster-based software program, what we would end up having is a file that we would open in Photoshop and then send to print. That printer is going to have to make a translation between pixels into dots and create a print that's going to look like this with a green background and a yellow foreground in terms of showing as a house. The next example is going to show very quickly what can happen in a vector-based software program where this image is being drawn as objects in a vector-based program, and you're able to see that instead of every pixel being defined, an area or a point A and a point B is defined, and then the path between that. In this case we are showing just straight paths, but they could also be shown as curved. And in the next video I will be talking a little bit more about those Bezier curves. But as you can see in this image, using this animation, that when we are looking at the difference between a raster-based software program and a vector-based software program and creating the exact same looking image, that with a vector-based software program, because it's those objects, because we can use mathematics in terms of defining point A, point B, and the path in between it, and attribute color to that path, we're going to be able to have a much smaller file size than the raster-based image software, which is going to need to identify every pixel and tell the printer exactly how to print each individual pixel.